advice and opinions expressed by the hosts of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are complete at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live in April. So excited to be here with you guys. You know, I'm always excited to be here, but April's a special time. I know that it can be a hard time for some people, but I always like to look for the positive. And the positive is that there's more energy given to our community than any other time. Do I wish that for some people, you know, for those of us that have loved ones on the spectrum, autism is a present thing every single day. It's not just 1 month out of the year. But if we can draw attention from the rest of the world for a month, what's the potential in that? And I think there's a great deal of potential in that. I'm especially excited talking about potential, talking with an amazing guest today. Here's the fun thing. We had him on the show 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And so he's going to tell us what has happened since then. Of course, I'm talking about the amazing Thomas Derry, who was one of the co-founders of the Rising Tide Car Wash. We've talked about them many times on the show and the tremendous job that they are doing employing individuals that are on the spectrum. Thomas is going to join us, talk about what the inspiration was, because it was personal, and all the things that they're doing now to help families like yours get to entrepreneurial experiences with potentially your family member on the spectrum. So it's going to be a great conversation. I can't wait to talk to him. All right. But before we get to that, we're live right now. Well, we're premiering. This show is pre-taped. As you know, if you've been watching the shows, we are moving our studio. And so we pre-taped a bunch of our shows in April to make sure that we had good content for you and weren't having to do it out of the hallway closet. You know what I'm saying? Because we're literally picking up stuff and moving as you're watching this. But it's premiering right now. That doesn't mean that you can't interact, because you still can. We'll be keeping an eye on the chat, making sure that you guys get your answers, questions to your answers to your questions, both of them, and so on and so forth. But if you've been looking at the schedule, you know we've got an amazing, amazing month with some pretty incredible things that we're talking about. Chris, our fabulous Chris Desmond, has already started showing you some of the different ways that you can connect with the show. I want to remind you that we have a very robust YouTube channel. We actually have two of them. If I'm being honest, we have Autism Live and Ask Dr. Doreen, and we have a library on each of them that spans well over a decade. So I hope you'll check out, see if we've had a guest on that is somebody that interests you, or answered questions that are very near and dear to your heart. But if we haven't already, we certainly can write to us and tell us who you'd like for us to have on, and tell us what questions you have, and we will form a show around that for you, or we'll do our level best to try to do that, right? But we're not only on YouTube, we're also on Facebook, we're on Twitter. And we know that most of you are downloading this content as a podcast, an audio-only podcast to take with you in the car, to take with you on walks as you're working out. Maybe you're washing dishes. I don't know, but all the things that you're doing, that you're listening to podcasts, we are a free download. Anywhere you get a podcast, we're available to do that. However, you will find, I don't want you to be surprised, that there are advertisements that will run throughout the podcast. I hope that, like me, when I'm listening to a podcast that I downloaded for free and somebody plays an ad, I go, woohoo, thanks for paying so I don't have to. If that is not how you feel, if your frustration level is higher than that, and you're like, then there is another option for you. For a low fee of $5 a month, you can go to glow.fm. F as in Frank, M as in Mary, /Autism Live. I know you guys know how to spell that. And for $5 a month, they will automatically send you absolutely everything that we do that's new on the Autism Network. That includes Autism Live. That includes Ask Dr. Doreen. It includes today's hyperfixation, stories from the spectrum, let's talk movies, everything we do, plus our new episodes that are in Espanol. So check those out. You can get those $5 a month, everything we do. And then you can pick which ones you want to watch. You can prioritize, but you will get them ad-free for $5 a month. So I hope for those of you that want it that way, you can have it that way. But for the rest of you, you can have it for free. Just enjoy the ads. All right. You know that before we have our guests, we have some business to take care of. And today's business I love because it's the jargon of the day term, visual supports. So let's delve into this. You know that we give you two definitions, and hopefully between the two, you can sort out what this means and why it might be important to you. I find that this is one of the terms that we get the most resistance about. For whatever reason, people are like, oh, do I have to give visual support? Well, I'm going to make fun of you. If you're that person, I'm going to make fun of you. Get ready. Strap in. Let's take a look at our first definition. So visual supports are visual items, such as pictures, simple symbols, simple symbols, but symbols, objects, gestures, signs, or written words that help with communication and understanding. Now that comes to us from Google AI. It's okay as definitions go. Let's take a look at our second one, and then we're going to delve in here. So visual supports, this is from easterseals.com. Written words, pictures, and or icons that convey information in visual medium. Individuals with ASD are typically visual learners, and conveying information visually assists with comprehension. Well, thank you, Easter Seals. It's funny how we don't have another word for visual other than visual, right? But I think we're getting closer to this because we don't want to assume everyone is different, right? But I think that a lot of people take in information visually through their eyes and process information. Now, we might process information in different ways when we do that, but I think a lot of people, that might be their strongest suit. I know when we talk to Temple Grannon, she says, I'm a visual learner, and that she's picturing things in her head. That's not everybody, but for a lot of people it is. And you know how we know that? Go outside and drive your car anywhere. How many street signs do you see? And for those of you who are like, oh, that I said I was going to make fun of you. Oh, I don't want to do visual supports. I don't want to do that. And you say, oh, it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel right. It's contrived. I want you to try to drive to work tomorrow, a route that you're familiar with, and don't look at any of the signs. Look at none of them. And don't look to turn when you know that, oh, that's where the Chick-fil-A is, that's where I turn, right? Don't. Try to ignore that and imagine, could you get there if everything was grayed out and you didn't know anything? Let me tell you something. I am somebody who, because I am at an advanced age where when I drive at night, depending on how well the lights are, I'm somebody who really goes by visual markers. That I know, oh, I turn where the church is. But if it's nighttime and the church isn't lit up, I don't see the church. And guess what I do? I drive right by it and I miss my turn. So do you know what I do now to help myself at night is so that I'm not having to squint at buildings that aren't lit up. I always put, because I have the screen on my car, I have, even if it's directions from work to home, if it's dark out, I put on my navigation because it's a visual support. What I'm hoping that you guys realize is that you are leaning on visual supports. You are. So when we say that for a loved one, that we just like, oh, it's so much work to give that to them, I think we need to rethink and give ourselves a little bit more initiative to be able to do these things. And not only will their lives be better, but your life will be better as well. I know that we're going to be talking with our guest in a moment about working and, what it's like for individuals who are working. And when you're in a workplace, it's filled with visual supports, and it should be. Temple Grandin has been on the show many times before and said that we need to make sure that whenever we're putting somebody in a job, that we need to make sure that we're giving them a checklist. Well, that's a visual support. A checklist is absolutely helpful, and it's going to ensure that somebody is doing something safe, they're doing it the right way, they're going to be successful. That's just one example of a visual support, but there are so many things that can help a person. Listen, when I came back to work in offices, because I was working in classrooms, so I'd never used Outlook before. I know everybody's like, oh, geez. But this was like 14, 15 years ago, and I'd never used Outlook before. And it took me a while to get used to, but now if you took away my Outlook calendar from me, I am sorry. I would probably sit in a room and miss every meeting that there ever was, because I rely on that. It's a visual support that helps me so I don't have to remember everything. I can look at it and it helps me to know what to do. But I'm also a former school teacher, and it was drilled into me that kids come into a classroom and there's a level of anxiety. And this is all kids, but especially our kids who are on the spectrum. They come into the classroom, and if they don't know what's going to happen, it can ratchet up the anxiety. And I know as a teacher, my first line of, what's important as I'm starting to educate these young people is they have to feel safe. They have to feel safe, or I'm not going to be as effective as a teacher, right? And so I always had something on the board or the overhead when they came in the classroom. I always had my classroom rules. If it was something that required a schedule for the day of what we were going to do, and often it did, let's say it's going to be a 50-minute class period, and I would say, first we're going to do the prompt that's on the board, then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. And I would do that on a daily basis so that the students come in and go, I know what we're going to do. You know what else it did? It meant that they didn't come in and go, are we watching a movie today? Right? Because it was all there for them. They could come in, look, and go, oh, that's what we're doing. I needed to have that homework done. And maybe they got 2 minutes to put something together. I don't know. But when we give people visual supports, it just lowers the anxiety. It sets them up for success. And it really can create some amazing outcomes. I love when Dr. Granpeesheh talks about, imagine if you had to go to work and you didn't know when you were going to be done working, and you didn't know what you were going to get paid, and you didn't know when you were going to get a break, you didn't know when you could go to the bathroom, and you didn't know when you could eat. How long would you last at that job? Or how long before you would start to feel anxious because you didn't know what was coming? Visual supports help us to know where we're at, where we're going, when we're going to get there. We all use them all day, every day. So I want to ask you to lean into that for your child, your teen, your adult that's on the autism spectrum. If you have a 3-year-old, we're going to make it as easy as possible, right? And it can be something that's on the refrigerator, but it shows icons that they would understand that first we're going to play at the park, and then we're going to go and be with the speech teacher, and maybe there's a picture of her, and then later on, this is what we're going to do. And then the child begins to know and trust, this is what we're doing. The difference that it makes with anxiety, cannot be understated, my friends, cannot be understated. So visual supports are really useful. All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to show you some of the things that we have going on here in the month of April. I hope you guys are keyed into that. And then we're going to be back with Thomas Derry from Rising Tide Car Wash. He's got a new book out. Plus, if any of you are interested in you're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to make a business that my child can work in, that they'll be happy and productive, and that will be good for our entire family. He's got something for you. So don't go away. Don't blink. Take a look at this, and we'll be right back.
It's that time of year. April has finally arrived. This week, we have all new shows. On Monday, Shannon welcomes Thomas Derry, co-founder of the Rising Tide Car Wash, an innovative social enterprise to develop a scalable solution for employing individuals with autism. Then on Tuesday, Shannon and Dr. Doreen discuss the topic anxiety. On Wednesday, Shannon is joined by Aaron Walker and Kia Pai from Rutgers' groundbreaking peer mentor program. On Thursdays and Fridays, we are excited to introduce Autism Live in Spanish throughout all of April.
Buenos días y bienvenidos a Autism Live. Soy Shannon Penrod.
This Thursday's show offers you ways that you can form a positive collaboration with your child's school. And on Friday, Shannon offers tips on how to survive the summer. Join us at 10 a.m. every day throughout April. The Autism Network, providing information and inspiration to families for over 14 years.
Welcome back to Autism Live in April. You know I love this month where we say all of the A words, right? Action, accomplices, allies, awareness, acceptance, whatever A word you're celebrating, we're celebrating. And I'm so excited because, as promised, I have a guest. We talked to him 10 years ago. I can't even believe that. 10 years ago, we did an interview with him, a phone interview. So this is actually his first time visually being on the show. But let me tell you a little bit about Thomas Derry, because if you don't know him already, you certainly should. And he's got a book out that you're definitely going to want to get. Thomas Derry has dedicated his career to unleashing human potential by creating organizational systems and a culture that empowers people to grow. Derry is the co-founder and COO of Rising Tide Car Wash, a company that employs over 90 individuals with autism. And I believe that makes them one of the companies that employs the most people with autism, which is amazing. He is also the co-founder of Rising Tide U, which is dedicated to teaching others how to harness Autism Advantage. In partnership with the University of Miami and Taft Foundation, Derry created the Autism Advantage, the first step-by-step online course designed to help parents build sustainable social enterprises that employ their loved ones with autism. As of September 2022, Derry's students have created over 195 jobs for people with autism in 24 businesses. He, of course, is on Forbes 30 Under 30 Social Entrepreneur, and he is the author of a book that we're all going to need to own, The Power of Potential: How a Non-Traditional Workforce Can Lead You to Run Your Business Better. How much do we love that? Derry believes all people have the potential to contribute to society and that businesses can improve their market position by committing to unleashing this potential. How much do we love this? A lot. So once again, after 10-year respite, let's welcome Thomas Derry back to the show. Welcome back.
Thank you, Shannon. That was a really nice introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, it's been way too long. Can I say that?
Yes.
What were we thinking, waiting for 10 years to have you come back on?
I don't know.
Obviously, we were, doing something wrong. But now we've fixed it. You're here, and I couldn't be more excited. So you and your father co-founded this amazing car wash, which was just the beginning. Tell us a little bit about how that happened and how you and your dad went, this is what we should do. And it became this passion.
Yeah. So I think like most families that are impacted by autism, there's a lot of anxiety leading up to their loved one's graduation of high school, and we were no exception there. My dad had been an entrepreneur at that point for several decades, and I was graduating an undergraduate degree in business. And we were really concerned about what Andrew was going to be able to do with his future. And
this is your brother that we're talking about. And
this is my brother, Andrew. Yes.
How much younger is he than you, Thomas?
So he's 20 months younger than I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of Irish, what my mother would call
school.
Irish twins.
Yeah, that's right. We were really close.
Okay.
I was finishing
college, but he was in school still. He was able to continue in the school system in New York until 22. So we had a little bit of time, and he was in a transitionary program at a private school on Long Island as well. And it became really clear really quickly to us that in order for him to lead the full adult life that we knew he was capable of, we were going to have to take action. The school was great. The people that worked there were lovely, but it was simply not set up to find employment for people. And that seemed to be consistent kind of throughout everything at that point. This was 2012. There was really few examples of successful enterprises that were focused on employing neurodivergent talent. So we decided that we were going to have to build something, and we looked at a bunch of different businesses. At the time, we only could use the research that was available to us, and there was, very limited, but essentially what it said at that point was that people with autism are really good at structured tasks, detail orientation, and we were trying to find businesses that had those things that as like front and center, that they were key aspects to how those businesses operated. We wanted something that was a community based business, so it would be integrated into the community. And we wanted something that was real estate based, because if it all crashed and burned, at least we'd have an asset at the end of the day. So
Smart.
for those reasons, we loved car washes.
I don't know why.
And,
I think I
yeah.
thought that you already knew car wash business, but this was a
No.
whole new enterprise for you guys.
Totally new enterprise. We didn't know
Wow.
anything about car washes
So
when
brave.
we got going.
So
Nothing.
brave. So
Yeah.
whose idea was it? The car wash.
That was my dad's. It was,
Okay.
we did a lot of research on a bunch of different business models, but he was really, really excited about car washing from day one. He felt, I think, as a father often does, he could see his son, Andrew, working at a car wash. So I think that was something that he really wrapped his head around quickly. I think I took a little bit more time to come around to the idea, but after we did, the research, and we ran a proof of concept at a car wash in Florida City, Florida, in the summer of 2012, and that really solidified the idea for us. And we said, we can definitely find enough people with autism who can do this job, and this is an industry that chronically struggles with labor issues and chronically struggles to differentiate themselves against competitors. So this seems like it's a good fit for us. So because of that, we bought our first location in Parkland, Florida at the end of 2012. We renovated it and put this system together, relaunched the location in April of 2013. And we've been going since. And now we've got 3 stores employing 90 plus people with autism and continuing the growth.
But there's so much more to that. But I want to back up for just a second, because when somebody went to Andrew and finally said, hey, we're thinking about starting a car wash, how would you like to work at the car wash? What was his initial reaction?
Well, it wasn't great. So at this point, right, so when he first started with this, one of the bigger problems with the employability of Andrew and many of the students that were at the program that he was at was that his only exposure to work was through job sampling at his school, which was essentially like bagging groceries for an hour or rolling silverware for an hour. And that gave him a pretty poor representation of what work really is. And because of that, when we started to introduce the idea to him, he was, kind of neutral with it at first. And then we went and he was part of that proof of concept program that we ran in the summer in the Florida heat, in, South Miami, which is where Florida City is. He was not a fan. It was very hard. It's a lot of work. It's physical, manual labor.
Mm-hmm.
And the heat is really difficult. But he worked through it. He was committed to trying. And what he learned, which is what many of our employees learn, is that the functional, practical, tactical part of work is only one part of work. There's the earning income, which is why we all work.
Yeah.
There is the social aspect of work. So he's got friends and community around him that he likes. And there is the feeling of accomplishment. The car, it feels good when a car comes out clean that you just worked on, a customer smiling and they hand you a tip.
Yeah.
So all of those things he liked. And that, became part of why he still likes 10 years later this work. And it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he just loves washing cars. It has to do with those other factors.
That's amazing. So these are such important points. And you could have just left it there, and you could have had one car wash and employed people, and a lot of people would have said, my goodness, aren't you doing something amazing? But you opened 3 car washes. Tell us where all 3 of the car washes are so that we know.
Yeah. So they are in Parkland, Florida, Margate, Florida, and Coral Springs, Florida.
Okay.
So this is essentially all like a 5-mile area in Northwest Broward County. And, so yeah, we started with one. The first couple of years were really rough. We didn't know what we were doing at all from a car wash perspective, and didn't know what we were doing employing people with autism either. We were figuring these things out as we went. But after, about a year and a half, we started to feel like we had enough traction to consider growth. And we found a piece of property that we liked that was, 4 miles down the road from that first store. And we said, okay, let's try it. Let's try to build one this time. That was really hard. It was, it was our first commercial building project that we'd ever been a part of. So we're learning how to build. And luckily, it was a good location, nice design, and really successful location, and more successful than even the first one was. And that was when we were like, okay, we've got something here. We are not only producing something that is really valuable in the community, but we're seeing many of our employees move on to other jobs and build self-confidence. And that was a big thing that we wanted to do from day one, was like not just create jobs, but also create first jobs that can be a platform for someone to learn how to be employable in a real meaningful way, and go and take that on their resume and go do other things.
Yeah.
So, I'm proud to say that we have over 200 employees now that have moved on to other jobs or higher education in the community. So that's a big part of what we're trying to do. What each of these stores does is not just create jobs, but create the beginning of careers as well. And that led to a third location in Coral Springs. And now this year, we will open franchising opportunity in select markets as well.
Wow, that's very exciting. And you got some amazing, as you said, success stories of people who sort of graduated from their job with you and went on to other things. But even internally, I understand that the manager of one of them is somebody who worked their way up to that on the spectrum. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's been fairly common for us at this point. So we've had many of our team members start working on the line in when they're in high school, and then over time going through the training program and getting to the point where they're a manager. So we've got at the moment we've got several team members that fit that bill, and we've got a few more that are really close. We've had a bunch of team members move on to other jobs, from being auto mechanics to working in aviation maintenance, working in hospitality, working in restaurants, working at other retail. And that's, I think the lesson, right, is that, at the beginning, the goal is just employment, because that's how you get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
But there's got to be, for any, meaningful impact, in my opinion, there's got to be either growth trajectory within the organization, which for us means really specific training, really concrete growth progression, lots and lots of feedback and coaching and training, and also a lot of support when someone wants to move on. It's not something that, some employers are, whether they guilt their employees or make it difficult for them to leave. We don't do that. We're happy for that. Yeah. That creates an opportunity for a new person to come in and get a job and start the cycle again. So I think it's, that's really the impact model is both first jobs and career opportunities. And I'm proud to say we've got employees with autism in every role at this point, from managers, to sales associates, to maintenance technicians. So it's really a big part of, it really permeates the entire organization.
You must have the best karma in the world, Thomas. I think you should buy lottery tickets or go to Vegas because you have lots coming to you. Talk to me a little bit about the car wash and what kind of car wash is it? Is it all by hand? Or is there parts of it that are mechanized? Tell us.
Yeah, so they're conveyorized car washes, which have been growing quite a lot in many markets. So the audience may be familiar with them. You drive into the car wash. The exterior car wash is mainly automated. There's somebody who guides you into the car wash to help you get onto the conveyor safely. In our case, we also have somebody at the end of the car wash to make sure the whole process is safe, controlling that process. Then after you get out of the car wash, you can choose at two of our facilities, you can choose to either do an interior cleaning or just use our self-service free vacuums. And then, you leave from there. So we're essentially like the different roles and such are, we have a sales associates. Those are almost all employees with autism. We have our tunnel guide-on associates. Those are all employees with autism. We have our tunnel safety associates, the one who guide people off. Those are all employees with autism as well. All of our interior cleaning associates are on the autism spectrum. Most of the supervisory staff is on the autism spectrum. All of the janitorial staff is on the autism spectrum. And then some of the managers are on the autism spectrum, and most are neurodivergent in some way.
It's so amazing, but I'm a mom. So I'm going to ask the mom question that I know other people are going to say in terms of safety. Like, oh my goodness, because people driving cars aren't always paying attention. I know when I get on the conveyor, I'm kind of, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Do you know what I mean? And I need a lot of support. And so I'm sure that you have some parents or loved ones who are a little concerned when they're starting these jobs. What kind of assurances do you give them? Because you must be doing some great safety training.
Yeah, so safety training is a big part of what we do. The processes in general are set up to be as safe as they can be, right? So, for instance, like when the team member is guiding cars onto the conveyor, some car washes will utilize an approach where the team member is prepping the front of the vehicle with a hose, and they're kind of crossing in front of the car. We've got an automated system that is blasting the front of the car that we designed, so nobody's going in front of the car. We're never crossing the front of the car's path. We train our team members to make sure they're always staying off to the side of a vehicle if they are guiding, both in the conveyor as well as in the aftercare area. We got to always, one of the bigger things that need reinforcement is proper footwear. We're always wearing non-skid closed-toe shoes. There's a lot of PPE training, to make sure we're wearing all the right stuff when we're handling, cleaning material and such. Yeah. But I think really one of the most interesting takeaways about all this, I hate to dive into the weeds on this, and I feel like I've already got a little bit too deep into the weeds. But the big takeaway is that, so we've been operating for almost 13 years. It'll be 13 years when this airs, essentially.
Yeah.
And we've never had a single workers' comp situation with a team member with autism. Not one.
That's amazing.
13 years.
Well,
only very minor safety violations at all. None that have resulted in any type of serious injury.
Amazing. Well, that in and of itself. And you've got some other statistics too, because, one of the reasons why this was so important when you were looking at your brother's life is, and here we are 13 years later, and the statistics aren't really any better. I've got something here, or do you already know them by heart about the statistics about being underemployed?
Yeah, we can certainly talk through that. I mean, in my opinion, the studies that are out there around employment and underemployment, they're very small samples. So I think you have to take them as like broad ideas instead of like specific percentages. But somewhere between 60 and 85% of adults with autism are unemployed or underemployed. And, we see that. I mean, candidly, some of our team members I would consider underemployed that have, that are really smart, that have gotten, let's say some sort of undergraduate degree, but really having trouble finding jobs in their fields. So they come work with us. Hopefully that gives them some confidence to then go and move on to the field of choice. But I think, the biggest thing about this, my biggest takeaway after doing this for the amount of time that we've done it, is that there really, truly isn't a skill gap. There is a perception gap.
Yeah.
Because many of our community struggle with social interactions, can either be very anxious or have difficulty with social cues or just speak in a manner that is, not typical.
Yeah.
They don't succeed in the interview process.
Exactly.
Or they make it through the interview process and then they really struggle in a workplace that is not clear and there's not like strong leadership and strong management associated with the role being their direct supervisors.
Yeah.
And I will say though that like I said, when we started, we thought that people were only going to do, our employees with autism were only going to do the interior cleaning of the cars, that was going to be kind of like the finite thing that they do, because in our head, hey, Andrew can do that. That's what they'll all do.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been more wrong. And I think one of my favorite examples of this is actually, our sales associate roles. I don't think you can think of something that would be less obvious as far as somebody with autism being successful in a sales role, right? This is really communication heavy. This is their fast interactions, hundreds a day. And that just doesn't feel like something, that traditionally you would think someone with autism would be great at. But I can tell you that, so we track that data really closely because it's a key part of the success of the operation. All of our top 10 salespeople are on the autism spectrum. And many, if you were to talk to them outside of the sales position, would communicate in a way that is very classically autistic. And they do exceptionally well because it's a structured interaction that they've gotten a lot of training on. They have good supports. They've got a tablet that has all these great visual aids to both help them and the customer through the process. And, this is a role that is really difficult to fill for most car washes, and it's so critically important. But because you would never talk to one of my sales associates and say, like, this person's going to be a killer salesperson. When you first meet them, you would never think that. But through the right procedures, both in the interview process and then in the training process and the coaching and support process, you get really great results. And that's true across the board, I think. I don't think there is a single role that if it was structured well and had a strong manager leading it, that you wouldn't find employees with autism that would do an incredibly good job.
Thomas, you're changing the world, and in the best possible way. I'm gobsmacked. You're amazing. And again, you could have just done the 3 car washes and left it at that. But I know, because I remember when you were on 10 years ago, people were like, how do I do this? How do I do this? I don't know how to do this. I don't have the business background. But you started Rising Tide U. Tell us what that is and who that might help and how they would contact you about that.
Yeah. So Rising Tide U is the training organization that we founded. The goal is to really share the learnings that we have had through the operations of the car washes. And really today, that's 2 different things. We've got an entrepreneurship training course called the Autism Advantage that was developed in partnership with University of Miami and the Taft Foundation. And that's meant to lead someone who has no business experience, no entrepreneurial experience, through the process of starting some sort of enterprise. Could be car wash, could be anything. And it's really meant to de-risk the process for a parent. It is essentially a basic entrepreneurship training that is written in the voice of someone who has a loved one with autism. And we did a lot of research to kind of understand where the big pitfalls are that a lot of parents and family members and teachers have run into when they've tried to build something. There's many examples of failed entrepreneurial endeavors that the goal was to employ people with autism. And that's really because of just some kind of basic thinking traps that people run into when they're starting, which we can talk about if you'd like.
Sure.
But that's one of the products that we have. The other one is my book, The Power of Potential. That's written more for someone who is trying to influence existing organizations or maybe in a leadership position to influence their own organization and show that there's real business value to employing people with autism and really just designing an organization that's inclusive for anyone to be successful. And I mean, that's, in my opinion, the goal of an inclusivity program is that it's an equal playing field, that anybody can be successful if they put in the work. It does take a lot of thoughtful design and practice to do that effectively, but it's very possible, and the organization really can really receive quite the dividends from doing that. And then, what we're launching now, which is kind of between Rising Tide U as well as Rising Tide Car Wash, is a franchise operation for families and folks that are interested in essentially replicating Rising Tide Car Wash in their community.
Yeah. Amazing opportunities. So where would somebody reach out for each one of those things? Like, where would we go for Rising Tide U? Where do we get your book? What do we do if we want a franchise?
So there's risingtideu.com and there's risingtidefranchising.com. And those are both great places to go. You can reach out to any of the inbox. All these inboxes go to me at this point. So you're going to come to me most likely. Okay. Just there's, the contact forms on those websites. And the book, probably the easiest place to buy the book is on Amazon, but it's available anywhere where you can buy books.
And so what does Andrew think about how big this enterprise has gotten? Is he really proud of that? Is it something he's interested in? Or he's more about the social and the paycheck, which is okay. So
he's really proud of being the inspiration for the business. Nice. Anytime we talk about it with new people or he's interviewed, that's his big thing. Like, I'm the inspiration for the business. And there's like real true pride for him in that. I think the thing that is most tangible for him as far as like the growth is all the new people he gets to interact with that are on our team. We do like team events once a quarter. So like those will generally be like bowling or like going to Urban Air, which is like an indoor obstacle course, arcade type thing in our area. And he loves being like, he's like the maitre d' when we do these events. He's so pumped about it. He welcomes everybody. He's really excited, gets to talk with everybody. And you can tell like he feels important, and he is. Yeah. So it's really, that's to me, I think, as far as like what the growth and expansion and success of the organization, it's really meant to him.
Now, I'm wondering where you find your talent. Do you have a pipeline that comes, or are people coming to you just because they've heard about you and seen all the news stories? How does that work? Yeah.
So at this point in these 3 locations, most of it is word of mouth. But when we were starting, and we still utilize this a lot, and when anybody who's looking to build a talent pipeline for people with autism, we recommend that you go to the people in the community who know and love specific individuals with autism. So what does that mean? That's your job coaches, that's your special education teachers, that's your speech pathologists, your occupational therapists, the people who are passionate about this.
Yeah.
And frankly, there's such a need, and people can see that so obviously, that when you just start to get into the community and do this, it is very easy to start to build that pipeline. You need 1 or 2 or 3 community champions to fill 10 to 20 roles. I mean, we have, like I said, we've got these 3 stores. They're all within 5 miles of each other, employing 90 people with autism. And we still have a wait list a mile long.
Yeah.
So there's a huge need for it, and it's maybe it's a little counterintuitive, but we didn't find a lot of success when we started going to like the principal or the superintendent of the school district. We found as soon as we started talking to the actual people who were in the classroom, who, when we described the idea to us, like, oh, Jimmy'd be great for this, or, Joey, like this is his dream. Like, absolutely, he would be so good at this. I can see him right there, right? And as soon as you start to do that and you start to have those interactions, it becomes very easy to build a recruiting pipeline.
That's amazing. I also wanted to ask you about my assumption. I mean, we're still saying that the ratio is 5-1 of boys to girls. My assumption is that you have many more men doing this than young women, but do you have some young women who are doing this job?
Absolutely. Yeah. So your assumption's accurate. We have many more young men than young women working for us, but we do have, I'm going to guess here. I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around 10 or 15 young women that are on the autism spectrum working for us. Amazing. Filling a bunch of different roles, from sales associate to aftercare associate. We've had several that are in supervisory roles. I don't think we have any at the moment, but yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, I think it's mainly the disparity is, like you said, the ratio is heavily skewed men to women, but also, automotive work in general, I think skews heavily male to begin with. So for those reasons, there's a lot more men that work for us than women, but certainly this is a role that we've had, there are a bunch of roles that we've had a lot of success with female employees.
That's amazing. And then for you, let me ask you this first. Who is it that's doing all the training? Is that you, or is it somebody else, or a team?
It was me at one point.
Okay.
At this point, the training program is a large contingent of it is automated through our training app.
Okay.
And then all the coaching. So like at the end of each one of these training modules that we have in this app, which is Opus, for anybody who's looking for a really inclusive training platform, it's fantastic. At the end of it, though, there's a check-in. So this is where the manager comes in and then certifies that they actually know the skill. And that's like essentially the program, the way it works is when somebody is first interviewed, it's a scorecard that's done by either our manager or our administrative manager. Both of them essentially collaborate to do the initial interviews. And it's a scored interview. If they get over an 80 on that, they get into what's called our pre-hire training program. So it's a paid training program where they are having to pass a structured certification, which means they have to be able to do the basic function of the role that they're interviewing for 3 times in a row. If it's aftercare, they have to do that in 7 minutes or less 3 times in a row. Then they're certified. Then they're offered employment. And then from there, there's a structured onboarding program, which is some of it's virtual, some of it is in person. The first few days are very strongly scripted. What we want to see happen, we want to see the person paired with a more experienced team member. We order pizza the first day. Somebody is brought on. So it's like a nice way to bring everybody together, kind of informally meet each other. And then, that onboarding training lasts generally the first week. And then there's drip training throughout the rest of their employment experience. Typically, we're seeing somewhere about 2 trainings per individual done per week. And that's just an average. Some people are getting more, some people are getting less on any given week. But it's very much a continuous training experience for our team members.
But I want to go back to that initial interview where you said if they get an 80 or higher, they're moving on to the next gate. But I'm going to guess that what your 80 is, the things that you're looking at are different than what most employers are looking at. So what are the things that you're looking for that would get you to an 80?
Yeah. So in each individual role, what we do, so first off, and I recommend many organizations do this, but we throw away past experience as far as like specific things we're looking for on a resume. It generally completely irrelevant for us.
Yeah.
And then what we're looking for is specific skills. So for the aftercare associate, right? That means that you can fold a towel, that you can bend over and wipe down the car, you can follow directions in those processes, you can vacuum the car, so you have the physical dexterity to do that. You don't have any sensory issues in the work environment that we're in. You have the dexterity to shine a tire, which is essentially like a little paddle that you hold and you go around the tire to apply the silicone-based product. And at the end of that, every time they attempt it, they get a score. So if they get it right after the first instruction, they get a perfect score. If it takes two, they lose a point, and then so on and so forth. And at the end of that process, if they get an 80 on the total interview, then they move on. But we do that for a bunch of different roles, right? So if somebody's interviewing for the sales trainee role, we want them to memorize essentially one paragraph of the sales script before they come in for the interview. Just 5 sentences that we're asking them to memorize. And what that does is that gives us the ability to see, okay, does this person, do they want to do this? Because it takes a little bit of effort. It's, depending on the person, could be 10 minutes, could be 30 minutes, could be an hour of work to try to get that down. Do they have the verbal communication skills necessary for that type of role? Do they feel comfortable with this script and they can stay on and say the same thing over and over again, because that's a big part of their job. And those are like we try to put quantifiable measures onto things, even if at first it appears that it's more qualitative.
I love it. I love everything that you're doing. So what I started to ask you, and then I said, no, let me ask other questions, but I want to know, for you, what's the end game? Is this your life's passion and you're going to stay working for Rising Tide until noon on the day of your funeral, or are you headed other directions? What's in the free, and you don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but
no, I'm an open
like
book.
A mover
I mean,
shaker.
so I think my philosophy is that, my job in life is to share the gifts that I've been given. I've been given a lot of gifts, and we've have something here with the car washes, and maybe be other businesses in the future as well. But certainly with the car washes, that there's a lot to share. The first attempts at that, like I said, the entrepreneurship training course and the book, solid attempts, right? I think they've had impact, and I hope they continue to have impact. But beyond that, I really want to get Rising Tide car washes into more communities. I don't think we have any interest in owning and operating stores in markets that we don't live in. But I do think that whether it's individual families or a group of families or a nonprofit organization that has a constituency of people they're trying to employ, I really want to share the model with them in an effective way. Yeah. So that's really what I'm focused on today.
Okay.
And I think in a perfect world, we would then get good at franchising, which is its own skill, right? It's not, we're selling a car wash franchise, but franchising is its own business in and of itself.
Yeah.
And if we can get good at that skill, that opens up the ability for us to identify other businesses that might work better for other people with autism, other families, different financial criteria, different levels of difficulty to operate, and try to roll out different concepts as well. I think I don't know how long that will all take me to do, but I think that's really where I'm focused, at least for the medium term next.
You got lots of time.
At least the next decade. Yeah.
I'm going to say we're going to drop in on you every 10 years because you're doing well. But I don't know. I don't know. I might be retired by 10 years from now, but let's hope. But absolutely amazing. I can't thank you enough for being on the right side of this conversation and leading us all to be on the right side of the conversation. I think that there are a lot of businesses out there that don't understand that how beneficial this population could be. So you put the pathwork down. But I also think that there's a lot of parents that in the last 10 years have had their idea of what adulthood is going to look like for their child shift to include employment. I want to evoke my dear friend Joanne Lara, who was the head of Autism Works Now, who's not with us anymore, but this was her platform. Thomas, she would have quelled over you because you're saying all the things that she wanted in the world. And she would have been so excited. And she always said, a job, everybody has to have a job because you don't have a seat at the table until you have a job.
That's right.
And I've seen the difference with all kinds of individuals on the spectrum of all different ages and all different abilities, but the pride in that first paycheck, it's tremendous. It is life-changing. It's something that it's theirs. We have to make sure that we give them the opportunity to have it because it already belongs to them. It certainly should. So good on you for making it happen. Good on you for sharing with people how to do it. Good on you for creating an opportunity where if people are like, I'm not going to be able to do this from the ground up, but I certainly could do a franchise. You're going to be a busy young man, but it looks like you're up to it. Will you please do us a favor and give our best to your dad and to your brother and to your whole family? Because I know you guys are doing this together. It's really, really remarkable. Again, we want to say that the book is available and you guys can get it on Amazon. And the name of the book, which I keep forgetting, what is the name of your book?
It's The Power of Potential.
The Power of Potential. My goodness, if I can't remember it, I can't harness it, can I? The Power of Potential. And don't forget the Autism Advantage. And if you're interested in franchising, I know a lot of you are out there and thinking maybe we should be doing a business. Maybe we should employ our own child. Start with Rising Tide U and take a look at that. And then, maybe franchising is the best thing for you, but you'll be already in conversations with Thomas. Thomas, you're a remarkable human being. I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to talk with you.
Thank you, Shannon. It's been an honor to be on the show, and I appreciate all the support.
Oh, always. Whenever you need something, you don't have to wait 10 years to come back.
I keep that in mind.
All right. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shannon.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Oh, you guys, how luscious is that? Oh, my goodness. Doesn't it just make you happy to know that? I always used to say this. Sometimes I couldn't sleep because there were so many things that need to be worked on, so many things, and you're like, how will that ever happen? And then you find out there are people like Thomas and his family in the world, and you go, oh my goodness, I can go rest because these people are not forever. You can take a nap, right? And come back and work right alongside amazing people like Thomas and his family. If you are in the Florida area, please patronize their wonderful car washes. Go to Rising Tide, get your car washed. I wish they were here. If you open one here, let me know. I will come every week. I have a white car. It's the dirtiest thing on the face of the planet. All right. We are continuing in this amazing month to bring you as many inspirational and informational interviews as we possibly can. Make sure you check the schedule to see what's next. The only shows we're live with this month are Ask Dr. Doreen, so make sure you check the schedule for that. And that's only because we're moving, y'all. We're moving our studio, and boy, I can't wait to unveil it to you guys in May. It's going to look exactly the same because we use a green screen, but it'll be different. It will be different. All right. Thank you for being here with us today, and thank you for being a part of our beautiful community. We'll see you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.